So we've just had a question come in and someone has asked how you can add an author byline to the 2014 theme in WordPress, because it doesn't have one. So let's just check out a post, and sort of in this area here below the content, around about the content or post navigation area is typically where an author byline would appear. So to do this, you need to have access to your WordPress server, and ideally you should be working with a child theme. That's what we'll be doing today. And further to that, having a little bit of knowledge of HTML, CSS and PHP would be extremely beneficial. So what we first want to do is just go into the WordPress dashboard and check out our user profile. I'm just going to show mine here. And as you can see, I've got my name specified, as well as a website, Google Plus URL, Twitter username, and a Facebook URL, as well as a short bio there. You can naturally change that to whatever you like or use whatever you've got at the moment. So what we now need to do is connect to our server. I've already done that, and navigate through the folders to the theme that we're modifying. And we're actually using a child theme of 2014 at the moment, because using a child theme is the best way to modify an existing theme. But what we need to do is copy a file out of the 2014 folder first, because without that we'll not be able to do this. So the file that we want to copy is single.php, because this is what's actually generating the post. So what I'm going to do is just open that up, copy the contents of that file, and then back in the 2014 child folder, I'm going to name that single.php. And then I'll just paste that content in and hit save. Now right now nothing is actually going to change, so we can actually go back to our WordPress website, just open any post, and you can see that it displays exactly as it did before. So what we first want to do is just make sure that this change is working. So we're going to make a small modification now, and just below here where it says get template part, as that's actually where the content is being generated, and above the post navigation, as you can see there, I'm just going to say echo, and we'll just go testing. Make sure you put a semicolon after that as well. So if we refresh the page now, we should see that text, and there you go. So it's over on the left, but it's there, it's working. Excellent. So back in your text editor of choice, there's a few things we need to do here. First, we're going to delete where it says echo testing. What we're going to do now is use get template part, and in here what you should write is author and single. Get template part is probably new to most people having a look at this, unless you've played around with WordPress development before. So we'll just save that file now to make the change, and what we need to do is make another file, and we'll do this now, and we're going to call it author single.php. And just in this file we want to do a test similar to what we did before. So we use opening PHP tags and echo again, and we'll write testing and close that off with the closing tags. We'll refresh, and we've got testing over there on the left hand side. So this is basically what the get template part function allows you to do. It allows you to create themes and parts of that are more modular. So you're actually going to keep the single.php file nice and clean, and you can pop all your code into another file. So what we're going to do now is just get rid of that testing function that we just wrote. And what I want to do ideally is generate a little bit of the content that is stored in that author profile in the back end of WordPress. So we can use another function to do this. It's very, very simple. So what I'm going to do again is opening PHP tags, echo, and we're going to use get the author meta. And in here, let's just, for the sake of this, put in the description. We'll go back here, refresh, and there you go. The description is correlated with the author bio. So we've got that functioning just fine. That's awesome. It's not formatted yet, but we'll get to that in a little bit. What we want to do is get all of this data populating first, and then we'll come back and deal with the rest. So back in the file author single.php, we've got the description, and what we probably also want to do is pull in the author avatar. So we're going to use echo again, and then a function called getAvatar. And in here we use get the author meta again. But this time we need to give it a few values. So what we're going to do is use the ID so that when this actually executes as part of the post being generated, it captures the author's ID to pull that out. And we also need to provide the size in pixels that we want that image to come through at. So I'm just going to choose 64 because it's not too big, it's not too small, you'll still get to see the picture. And we also want, well, we'll probably want to put in the Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus URLs because those are the ones that we've specified in there. So we'll just copy that a few times and we write Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus. And what we also might do here as well is we'll put in the website as well. So we go for that one, it's user URL. These are all available on the WordPress Codex. You don't need to remember them off by heart, but just in case you do need to assess that later on, you can. So with those changes in mind, we'll just save that file and we'll hop back here and refresh. There you go. So you can see all of that data has populated in there. Again, it's not formatted yet. We'll get to that though, so don't worry about it for now. But we've got the base of it working. So back in our text editor once again, we need to start adding a little bit of structure to this. So this is where we're going to start writing a little bit of HTML, but within the PHP. So if this is a little bit confusing, that's okay. We'll get to that. So what I'm going to do first is use an article tag because we want to section that content off just nicely. And if we go back into the video post and we use, say, a web inspector, for instance, such as Chrome's web inspector, and just choose inspect element there, we can see that all of the content we have is nice and centered, just like that. And you can see, if you look in developer tools, that it belongs to a class of entry content. So just to save a little bit of time, I'm going to add that class here, entry content. And if we jump back into there and refresh, then we've actually got that all nice and centered just as we did before. And now we need to go back into the text editor once again, of course. And sort of something I noticed back here is that the text is right there against the image, which is, it's okay. It's probably not ideal though. It could look a little bit better. So what I want to do here is add a little bit of formatting to some of this. So just on the line where we're getting the author meta for the description or the bio, whichever you would like to call that, we're going to add a little bit of HTML in here. So what we do is we use just single quotes, and what we're going to put in here is a paragraph tag, and I'm going to give this a class because we ideally will be writing a little bit of HTML to fix this up. And I'm going to call that class, say, author description, or author desk for short. And we just want to close that off. And you can see here we've got a full stop. And when you use a full stop within an echo function, it'll actually join these two together. So anything that's output in that get the meta author tag will be put after we've put the paragraph opening tag there. It's just important that you also put anything you want to print out as text or HTML in single quotes. So then of course we need to close this off. So you've probably already figured this out, but we just need to add another dot there. This is also called concatenation, and then opening single quotes and a closing paragraph tag. So we'll just go back here now and check that out. And you can see it's now appearing below the image there because we haven't assigned any CSS properties to that. That's okay for now though. Let's jump back into the text editor. And what I want to do now is start adding formatting to these URLs that are going to appear here. So what I'm first going to do is use echo once again, And this time I'm going to create a list, and naturally that means we also need to close the list. So we'll do that. Just make sure we add the semicolons after there, otherwise it won't work. And what I'm going to do is give this a class as well. I'm going to call it auth links, or author links. We'll call it author links to keep it in line. And then what we naturally need to do is, to these properties here, we need to add list tags. So what we can do is, depending on your text editor here, you should be able to do it this way. So what we'll do is we'll go single quotes open and opening list tags, and then close those single quotes, add in a full stop, and then we jump over to after the get author meta area, add in another dot to make it all join up together nicely, more opening single quotes again, and then we just want to close off those list tags. And just to show as we go, we'll just save that now and refresh. So this is a good start. We're generating the content, we've added just a little bit of formatting to it. But these are currently just the URLs, as you can see, and in the case of the Twitter content, it's only generating the username because that's all that WordPress asks you to actually specify in the user profile area. So I think we'll probably keep working on those links just for the moment. So what we need to do is jump back into authorsingle.php. And what we need to do here, where we've got these list tags, is open up link tags. So what we'll do is put in the A and then href to generate that link. And then we just have the opening double quote of that tag there. So what we now need to do is jump back into over here, and after that dot there where we've got the list tag happening again, what we want to do is close off the A tag, or close the opening A tag, and then we want to put in the closing part of it. So what we can do here is we can say website, and then we can say Twitter, Facebook, finally Google+. But what we just need to be mindful of regarding where it's generating the Twitter URL is that it's not actually going to put in any of the required details like the HTTP. So we're just going to put those in now, and it's https://www.twitter.com/. And we'll save those changes now, and we'll jump back into WordPress here and refresh. So that's a good start. We've got the links happening now. Just to rehash on there, what we've done is added the opening anchor tags within the initial echo just after the list, and you can see it's generating just as regular HTML on the front end there. So ultimately we've got all of the content that we want generating pretty nicely, but it's time that we change that up a little bit. So what we're going to do is jump into our style sheet now, and hopefully you remember the classes that we've added to those there before. You can just go back here, you can see we've got author description, author links for the opening unordered list tag, and that's really about it. That's all we really need to get this happening. So back in style.css, what we want to do is we'll start with author description, and what we probably want to do is float that to the left, and there's no padding there next to the image, so what we're going to do is add some padding to the left there, and we'll just put in 10 pixels. It's not a huge value, and we'll jump back here and refresh. And unfortunately we can't see that because we need to actually make the image float over to the left as well, unless of course you want it on the right hand side. So we just use the web inspector and inspect element, and you can see here it's actually got a class of avatar 64 photo. So we can get away with just using the avatar class. So what we're going to do is jump back into the CSS file and use that class avatar and put in a float of left. We save, jump back into WordPress, refresh, and there you go. So the image is on the left, the bio is there as well, it's in the spot that we wanted it at. There's a tiny little bit of a gap there between that and the image to make it look a bit clean. But now we've got the problem that all of the links are coming up and it looks very cluttered and disorganized, and I probably wouldn't be looking to use a website that looked like that myself, so let's go and fix that up straight away. So what we're going to do is use URL author links to target that very specific element. And what we want to do here is put in a float of left. And we jump back in, check it out, see how it looks. And that's alright. I mean, it's not really appearing where we would ideally want it to be. So what we want to do is jump back into our CSS now and put in clear both. And that makes it appear underneath that general area there. But we still have the problem, or I personally see that as a problem, that all of the links are indeed in a list, and given the nature of this area, it's sort of a bit too long. I feel it should be horizontal. So we're going to jump back into our text editor now and go author links li for the list items, and we want to display those inline so that they're all left to right. So we'll save and refresh. So that's partially working, but they're all right next to each other. So we can just simply jump back into our CSS, add, say, padding right of maybe 20 pixels. You can obviously change that as you see fit. There we go. So that's nice and separated and a little bit broken up now. You'll note that there's a small margin here though. So if you go inspect element again, you can actually find out what's causing that. So you can go to the author links item there, and if you look over here in the right hand side, the actual default style for this type of element in this theme is that it has some padding, as you can see just over here. So what we can do is jump back into our CSS, and on the CSS we just did before, the URL author links, we go margin 0, save, jump back here and refresh. So there we go, we have the author avatar showing, we also have the author biography there, and we also have 3 links for website, Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. So we don't currently have the author name displaying. It's pretty easy to get up there though. So what we do back in author single.php, we'll put it in H3 tags to make it a little bit bigger. We'll say about, and then we use PHP to open this up. So again, we need to use echo and get the author meta, and we'll want to call in the display name there. Save. Back in here, we'll refresh, and there you go. So we've got about author name, so the display name, I've just got my name there at the moment. We've got the text that fills out the bio, and we've also got the links there. And that's just a really basically styled author area. If you're building a theme or you want to modify that, I probably recommend adding some more CSS there to make it a bit prettier. You might want to make this list move down a little bit further so there's a bit more margin between the author avatar and that, or you might want to move it up here as well. That's totally acceptable, just so long as you're happy with it and it fits your theme. But really that's all that you need to know to add the author profile or the byline, whichever you'd like to call it, to the 2014 theme. So just to recap, what we've done there is we'll get back into the dashboard to start this off. So if we go into profile, you can see that we've given a first name, last name, and the display name. And I'm just choosing first name, last name. We've defined the website, Google+ URL, Twitter username, and Facebook URL as well as some bio text there. And to make that all come together, what we've done is we've used a child theme. The first thing we've done is copied single.php from the original 2014 theme, and we've used getTemplatePart author single, so that we've then created the author single.php file, so that when this page is loaded, it will call that in appropriately. And we've just used some pretty simple PHP there by the use of echo, to output some HTML, and then to pull in the data from get author meta there. And, you can see the Google+, Facebook, Twitter, user URL, description, pretty straightforward stuff. And finally, we just tidied it up by writing a little bit of CSS there. So hopefully this isn't too confusing. It's pretty straightforward and generally in line with what a lot of work in WordPress is like, in terms of coupling functions with HTML to get the desired output. If you have any questions about what we've done, or child theming, or anything here, please feel free to ask in the comments below.